It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
All right, now unmute and start again. Welcome everybody to our daily gun show. On Tuesdays, we kind of alternate between the 2A media workshop and the the media workshop and the 2A workshop, I guess. But essentially, or the Gun Channels Consulting, I guess that was the other title we had for the show. But today we're going to kind of merge them, so it doesn't really matter which angle you're coming in from. Let me close the door, puppy. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Don't get out of the way. Get it closed. He didn't get out of the way. We're going to be taking a look at the life cycle of a content creator. I probably have addressed something similar to this in the past, but not specifically like focused down on this. So with the way the world is going and the cycles that we deal with, the tendencies that we have, our nature as humans and as mammals and as people getting together in this country, I think there's some consistency, some similarities between projects and stuff. Snob out there, welcome. I don't know if you're going to be available in about an hour. I'm going to do this quick, and then we'll be getting together there in about an hour on the off air. But anyway, so I figured I'd talk about this, take a look at this, and feel free to participate. This isn't a lecture. This isn't a classroom or nothing. This is a workshop. The idea is to throw stuff on the table that's useful, hopefully, and gets the wheels turning. Been following quite a few, I shouldn't say that, some new channels, new projects that are, beginning or starting. And this is for those channels. This is for those channels that have been there and done that. And maybe people that don't realize their role in everything that's happening out there. Right on. Maybe listen in or something. So let's get started. So we've got, I went to the robots and tasked them with coming up with everything we need here as if they were experts. We'll see if they accomplish that or not. I also told them to make this image, so let me know if that image works for this chat or not. But they divided things up, and this took a little while. This took about 3 or 4 iterations before I came up with this, and I didn't even proofread this. I just kept molding some clay, and I figured let's explore this together. So we got getting started, laying the foundation. Then we'll get into the growth phase and building your audience. Then we got the maturity phase, sustaining success. That's an interesting way to do it. The decline phase, managing transitions. Then they have final tips. So in each of these sections, they've divided it due to my input to the ups and downs, mental health, finances, relationships, and motivation. So with these phases of, I guess, the life cycle of a content project, I don't know, we're saying content creator. That implies individual, but this could mean project. This could mean a person's efforts. I guess you'd call that a project, but like, a period of time spent, maybe employment, maybe you work for someone and this is your role or your job description for a while. But whatever the segment of time is for the person we're talking about here, however this applies to you, we could say, we've got these sections here. All right, so I'm not going to stop too much because I'm going to try to do this in less than an hour. But feel free to leave some comments or interact with this thing as we go live here. So when we start talking about getting started, I'm not here to motivate people to get started. We definitely need all hands on deck. We need people to be doing all the different roles, but I'm not getting paid by every new person I bring online or nothing. I'm not selling you some course or some kind of software or anything. So, I mean, I'm not encouraging people to do things that they're not interested in. But for those people who are getting started or have started and consider themselves in this getting started phase, the ups, the excitement and passion, the thrill of starting something new, sharing your passion and connecting with like-minded, that's something that's interesting. If we had a panel here, asking about that, how big a portion of the project is that, or how big a portion of your interest is that? That was something I know when I was younger, I had to worry about more. I would like starting things. Starting things are really neat. Thinking it through and figuring out how you can accomplish something new is neat. Following through takes forever and isn't always quick. So, and it certainly isn't always a direct path. So that part of it, you tend to burn out on the grind and start something new and start something new and start something new. Then you either have to start sacrificing those projects or dealing with a bunch of losses, because very rarely do you hit wins every time. But that's an interesting way to start about, talk about some of the ups there. The rapid learning, acquiring new skills in content creation, editing, and marketing. I'd say that there's got to be a lot more ups when you're starting something new. The anticipation of what you're going to create. I think that's a part of it too. I like the idea where it says connecting with like-minded individuals, especially in 2024. Unless you're doing something offline, you're going to find other people are going to come along just to observe, if not to participate. And if you do something that is open, you leave a door open, you leave a way for people to communicate, then you're going to find like-minded folks come around. Like I say, unless you're doing it in the dark. All right, so then we got the downs: slow growth, initial successes with gaining followers and visibility. I don't know. Is that something that people, I think if you were unrealistic, you would consider that a down. I don't know if that's a down. I know that that's a factor, but I don't know if too many people get the coaching that they're going to immediately have success. So I think most people can have checked their expectation of success there. But it's a robot and it's going after everything everybody said on the internet. So that's just sort of a general inclination, I guess. Self-doubt, doubts whether you'll succeed if your content is good enough. I don't know. That must be a factor. But I suppose I just assume if you went ahead and put something out there, you've been able to weigh the balance on the side of who cares. Let's get something out there. And I don't know if I like these downs. There's probably some other downs that are out there in 2024. If these are seriously the downs, then again, I would just have you reflect back on why you even started this in the first place. It feels like you've already passed these hurdles to even start your project. So if you've passed a hurdle, how many races go back and pay attention to the hurdles that you've already jumped? Like, it's probably a good idea to keep track of how many hurdles you've jumped, but you're just going to waste time worrying about them. So if you've gotten past that, you're past it. Mental health, balance, and support system. Avoid burnout by setting realistic expectations and taking breaks. I think I just mentioned that. The breaks part I like, though, and that's neat. Not too many people incorporate into their initial planning time off. And just like with muscles and weightlifting and stuff like that, you need to take some time off, which is about anything that you're doing. You need to take some time off for reflection, healing, and just to take some time off so that you have a new perspective, a fresh perspective on what you're doing. You can mentally keep going through it, but eventually you'll get distracted and you'll have your mind completely off topic, and then you'll have that opportunity to come at something fresh. And you just can't do that without taking a break. So that is important, and not enough people, especially with any initial success, I think the tendency is to just keep going, double down, keep doing it full time, till it ends. And why let it break? Take a break first. Support system. Surround yourself with supportive friends, family, or fellow creators. I don't know. I'm a Gen X, I think. So I'm not used to having enough friends and family and fellow creators. So everybody nowadays doesn't do anything without friends, family, and fellow creators, as far as I can tell. So I don't know if that's a big deal or not. I think most people wouldn't have even taken that initial step without having that. So I guess that's what they're just acknowledging, that you're going to more than likely have these people already, but if you don't, yeah, be aware that as soon as you start a project, you'll find plenty of people, not necessarily family, but you'll find new friends, and you will find others out there on the same trail, or at least a similar trail, that are allies. There's going to be a couple of jerks out there, but for the most part, you've got allies, and then people that you'll not so much that you're enemies, but just people that are, you find out they're on a trail and you cross paths with them, but they're not on the same trail you're on. Their goals are different than yours. So, whatever they call that, like people that cross paths, you'll find plenty of those people too. And you can get support from those people, especially if you're on ever done any kind of long trip by yourself. When you come across anybody out there, it doesn't matter if they're on the same trip or not, you come across anybody out there, you're not alone. So, that, it is able to support life wherever it is you're going. So that's a good option that we have. And I think we've always had that with the internet. That's one of the things that the internet's given us. With back in the days of trying to put something out there on a piece of paper, making a bunch of copies of it, and then handing those copies out. What was your support system then? Nothing. Time. You had to wait and find out if anyone responded to whatever you put out in the world. Nowadays, you get that information quickly. All right, I'll keep moving on so that doesn't dwindle. Let's see. Foss is saying, when I started out, I would have a younger niece look at my videos to see if they made sense to the younger folks. Well, that's an awesome idea. Have like a filter or a lens it's accurate instead of just your assumption. That's a great idea. And that's something that the other way works. We've had communities. I've started building communities. Let me think. I guess the first communities we technically built were gunchat.net back in like 2000 and I don't know, let's say 6 or 5 or something. And that lasted till about 2009. So before there was a YouTube or anything like that, there were not chat rooms. Well, the early days there was chat rooms, but there were message boards in the early 2000s. Message boards were the main way people got together and had conversations. And we had things to have conversations about. The end of the assault weapons ban, for example, ended in 2004. So there was a lot of activity in the gun realm, but it was on these message boards. And just like the internet today, there was assholes, and the assholes would make the message boards really angry and mean and just be essentially trolls and assholes. And a lot of those people went to Reddit. But they made the message boards horrible. So a lot of us made smaller message boards on topics that would attract regular people instead of the horrible people. And then we would just have moderators keep the horrible people away. And that was gunchat.net. It was a message board, and we had hundreds, I suppose, of people on there, maybe thousands watching, but hundreds that participated. And there was all kinds of conversations going on. And back in those days, I forgot why I even started talking about gun channels. Why are we started talking about communities and stuff? But I guess we're getting to finances, so I'll just keep going. Initial investment, initial expenses for equipment, software, and promotional activities. Finances. I don't know. It's like trying to think about what it's like to be an adult new gun owner. I don't even know what that's like. My first guns were given to me, and then I saved up with my allowance forever to get my first couple of guns. And then by the time I had a job, I would buy guns whenever I felt like it. So I don't think about saving up for and buying your first gun as an adult. So I don't think about how do you save up for content creation. Man, I'm always been super cheap. So I don't know. I never spent money on cameras and stuff. My tendency is to suggest just start. Don't worry about the equipment. You can't know what equipment you're going to want. You can't know what you're going to need until you get started. So get started with whatever you got. So it should cost you zero except for your time. So I'm not the best one to relate this one, but investment, it says initial expenses for equipment, software, and promotional activities. Again, everybody's going to do this differently. I have software already because I do software work. But again, if that's a cost, then you can do everything that's software for free. There's nothing that you can buy software for that you can't get for free, a free type of it. It might have a fewer options, but often they're just as robust or even more powerful than the paid versions. So I wouldn't let finances be an issue on software. Now, promotional activities, that is a factor in 2024. I don't know how many people out here as content creators are paying to promote their own work. I'm just too cheap, and I've never had the opportunity to, and I've never had my goals have never been numbers, so I've never paid for numbers, but it is an option. And if you were, let's say, selling something, you would definitely want to have your ad get out there, your advertisement get out there as much as possible. So if you're trying to advertise your own channel, there is, it's not illegal to promote your own channel. And a lot of people put that into their strategy right from the beginning. So this concept of finances or having a piece of your finances for promotion, it's alien to some, but it's the norm for others. So I can see why they put that in there. I guess it must be enough of a norm for enough people that it is in here. The robots wouldn't put it in there if there was only a mention of it a couple of times on the internet. Finances, it says no immediate return. Be prepared for little or to no financial return in the early stages. I guess that's realistic. I guess it's also trying to be useful to say you are going to have some initial costs and you're going to have no expectation of returns. And that's the goal here, is to have a realistic expectation of the situation. I think you can keep these initial expenses very low, however. All right, relationships, audience, sponsors, and other creators. So for the audience, focus on building a loyal community by engaging with early followers and responding to comments. Sponsors, start reaching out to potential sponsors, but understand that most deals come later. Then it says other creators, network with fellow beginners to share experiences and support each other. So these are just some sentences, and they're not the sentences I would have picked, but they're only sentences, whether there could be paragraphs for each of these. So as far as audience, again, this is the initial stage of content creation. Focusing on a loyal community by engaging with early followers and responding to comments. That is a tactic. That is a strategy. However, how do you say this one? If you're going to build a restaurant where you're going to know everybody's name, then you're never going to have a McDonald's, right? So even if your goal isn't to have a McDonald's and get rich, if your goal is to have a McDonald's and change the way people eat, well, not McDonald's is a bad choice, but you know what I mean? If your goal is to go from some very little to large, then focusing on this and making that a mainstay of your channel is going to be frustrating. And you'll notice that the people who are large can't do that. It's not possible. So they'll usually just talk to each other and let people, say stuff at them, but they'll pick whatever they're gonna yell back at. But for the most part, it's like any individual on a stage in front of a large audience. It's the kind of relationship where you're not gonna be able, if you're the person on the stage, you have to understand you're not going to be able to communicate with each of those people out there. You will be able to get feedback from those people, and you'll be able to know what to say that most of those people want to hear, which is a thing. But at the beginning, I think this is, I don't want to say a dangerous path, but just be aware that you're going on a path that will end. And if you get comfortable with it, or if you like that factor of it, and that becomes a part of the reason you do content, then you're either going to force yourself to stay small, or you're going to force your audience to be willing to have that size, not size, but that situation going on. And again, that is going to have some factor on size, because I don't know what the numbers are, but you can't know more than a dozen people or 24 people or something. It's just not possible for our brains to keep up with that many people in the world. We get super fake after a minute, right? After 100 people or something. So, and I don't know where that is for everybody, but I've tried to express that over the years to people that are growing, because everyone grows at different speeds, and with viral stuff, people can jump or quickly move in position or size. So our number of people engaged, that's another way to describe it. And as those change, you're gonna, you'll have to adapt essentially. So when it says sponsors, start reaching out to potential sponsors, but understand that most deals come later. Man, that's bullshit. I know tons of people that are tiny that have massive deals. It's all about relationships and knowing people and offering something. Like if you've got a message that is for cowboy shooters, something about single action guns or something, then someone who's looking for that market could care less if you're huge. They could care less if you're the longest running channel on the thing or whatever, because more than likely the other people that are focused on single action stuff or cowboy stuff are old and not worried. They're set, they're done. They don't need sponsors. They're not looking for sponsors. So that sponsor, you might be the only person that they can work with. And if they've got a lot of money to work with, you've got a lot of money to work with. So you don't want to assume that as you're new, you are entitled to a bunch of money laying on the table, but there's certainly a huge industry out here, and we can go on and on about that. But reaching out to sponsors, let them know that you're available and reach out. If your goal is to grow and become a channel, unless you're independently wealthy, you're not going to be able to do that without an income, without some kind of way to fund the project. And if that's travel, or if that's gear, or if that's just time that you're going to spend on it, then having those relationships, you might as well start them right at the beginning. There's lots of people that like to be part of the beginnings of things. And I'll say on the other side of that, be careful, because a lot of predators like to prey on people that are new and don't understand the industry yet. So everybody with their hand out isn't looking to be friends with you. Let's see. So I should say everybody with their hand out ain't trying to help you up. Some of them have their hand out to grab your wallet or something else. Let's see. And then a lot of people, I'll say it here because I can say it. A lot of people that are going to help the new people are because people that have been around a while ain't going to talk to them. So be a little not worried, but be a little wary of the people that only hang out with new people. You know what I'm saying? Be careful. You know a couple of people who only hang out with new people, and there's usually a reason for that, because once people are around a little while, they move on. Network with fellow beginners to share experiences and support, sure. But again, if you're just only going to hang out with freshmen, you're never going to meet any seniors. So you don't have to stop and only hang out with whoever. So I don't like this advice that much, or at least I would certainly add to it. And then reach out to any other creators you feel like. Essentially, you're going to have to start figuring out who wants to talk to other people and who don't. And the only way you're going to know for certain is to talk to them, reach out to them. Independently poor. Nice. I like that one. Foss is saying network with both beginners and creators that have been around. I've learned a lot from guys that have been around. Yeah, exactly. Like, you can be careful, because some of the people that have been around, like being around one thing, like I was just talking about the message boards back in the day. What the hell good is that? Except for every once in a while, a little story or something. And there are a couple of people. Recon is still around. I like to hope the 5 Bears is still out. 10 Bears is still out there. But, there's a couple of people that are still around from the olden days. And if you're around from the olden days, say hey. But aside from just some stories and some generalities, nothing technically is the same as back then. I mean, cameras were 1 megapixel, and it was internet that couldn't support video really yet. So, we are in a different internet. Literally, everybody's on phones now. We have fast internet everywhere. There's satellite internet, for crying out loud. So getting info from the old guys is nice, but it's often stale. And plus, I don't want to say it, but I don't know how to say it, but if they walked a path, unless you want to walk their exact path, then who really cares exactly what they did? Like, knowing what they did or knowing what happened is interesting, but whatever I did isn't going to help anybody unless they're trying to do exactly what I did. And why would you want to do that, since I did stuff back in the old days? You're going to be cutting new paths, so expect that you're going to need to have skill sets. Not always new, but just a different set of skill sets than what other people needed. Now let's talk about motivation, because right from the beginning, if you don't have realistic expectations of keeping yourself motivated, then you aren't going to last the long term. Small wins, celebrate the milestones and progress for yourself and for the people that are with you, because the people that help you and the people that support you and the people that follow your stuff or watch your shit, they're going to be watching a lot of other things. So letting them know that you're paying attention to all that certainly helps, and it kind of creates the billboards, the sign waypoints, and keep track of them. By celebrating them, you're also keeping track of them, even if it's something as simple as your social trail or something. Most of the social platforms suck at archiving. They're designed to keep people on the platform today. They do not care what happened yesterday unless you're laughing at it or making fun of it or angry about it. But they're not going to lend themselves. Can you search your Twitter feed? No. Can you search your Instagram feed? No. Can you search your YouTube? Kinda. But for the most part, they're not there to archive. So you should archive. They will tell you when they feel like it. Like, hey, you haven't been using the service enough, so let's remind you what happened last year. Hey, you haven't been sharing your stuff enough, so let's remind you what happened 1 year ago today. But aside from those little intentional programming indicators where they want you to interact with the software or with the app, they're not charting your progress. They are, but they're not sharing it with you. So chart your own progress. Have a portion of your website with your own timeline. Once you've been doing this for a while and you're looking for that motivation, every time you accomplish something, you're marking it down. You're moving. That you're gaining headway. Often when the media cycles, the news cycles are going to go crazy like they're going to do this year. It's the election year, and they're going to do everything they possibly can to keep us all distracted, knowing that your project is still on track and on course and making headway, or whatever the words are. Then that's priceless. That's the big win for motivation there. So start with that. Initially start that stuff. It's going to be tougher once you're winning and once you're really moving to go back and think about, when did I start this milestone? When did we hit this next step? Keep track of that stuff. Let's see. Passion projects focus on topics that you are genuinely passionate about. Okay, whatever. Thanks, robot. All right, so the next one is growth phase, building your audience, the ups, the downs, the mental health, the finances, the relationships, the motivation. So we've got the increased engagement. You're going to get more people joining. Obviously, during the growth phase, the collaborations and sponsorships will start to emerge. You'll also start to do these, right? You'll be doing these collaborations and these sponsorships, and you'll be learning. You'll be getting wins, and you'll be getting losses. You'll be learning what to do and who to stay away from. Downs, pressure to perform, criticism, increased pressure to maintain consistency and quality, dealing with negative comments and feedback. That's going to happen from the beginning. It's going to be more of a, why aren't I getting any comments, right? And why did I get a negative comment? Like that was out of nowhere. Why would that person stop and give me a negative comment? So you got 2-3 ways to deal with that. You can take it in and go, oh man, what did I do wrong? I wish I would do things differently so I never get a negative comment again. Or you could attack the negative person, like, oh, you're the one who's being negative in my comments, and it's your fault, and my stuff was good and you're bad. Or you could ignore it all, I guess. And there's probably some other ways to do it. There's no perfect way of doing it. Guess what? There's no perfect way of doing it. You ignore them. It sounds like, oh, great, I'll just ignore all that stuff. But that doesn't mean that it ain't festering out there. So somebody comes along and goes, I can't believe you wore a green shirt in that video and you shot 9mm. Holy moly, that's the worst thing you could ever do. And then somebody comes along and says, I hate you because of your green shirt theory. And then somebody else comes along and goes, I hate 9mm. So now you've got this big thing going on. If you're just there for numbers, well, congratulations, you're exploiting the system. But everybody else that's not an a-hole is going to, want to get rid of that stuff ideally. So you can't just ignore. So you've got to be aware of the stuff that's happening out there. Take it with a grain of salt and apply some of it. Like when necessary, when applicable, you should take it and understand that it's real criticism. Ideally, you'll get some actual people who are allies, content creators and audience, like professional audience folks, who will give you real critiques so that you can get better. And be careful if you ignore everything or you tend to go to one or the other. If you accept everything from everybody, you'll never do your own project again. You'll always be jumping to somebody else's beat. And if you listen to people who are super negative, then you'll quit. But if you can get some people that are truly on your side that can let you know, like, hey, the microphone sucked on that one, or you shouldn't wear a red shirt, you look like an idiot, then that'd be ideal. Mental health, boundaries, mindfulness, set boundaries to protect your personal life and mental well-being. That's for sure. People don't think about this. I would put this in this is the building phase. I'd put it in the initial phase. To avoid balance and burnout, like, keep your own life to yourself. Like, people like to put their whole shit out there. That's nice. And it's great when you only have 12 or 18 people paying attention to your shit. What happens when you get that weird meth addict who comes in and he's like insistent that he's one of the group, and then all of a sudden he's not one of the group. He figures it out, and next he's doxing everybody, and he's putting everybody's addresses and email addresses all over the place. Like, you got to be careful with this stuff. You don't see it coming. You can't even imagine all the weird stuff that could or might happen out there. One of the things you can do is just be aware. I've been saying, normalize having a birth week. Normalize having a birth month. It's none of anybody's business what your actual birthday is. Who cares about your birthday? Your mom, right? And your scammers, the people that want to know your birth date so they can rip you off on the internet. Like, you do not need to tell anybody else what your actual birthday is, and use those boundaries on everything. If you've got kids, that's your business. If you got a spouse or a significant other, guess what? It's your business. You can share all that stuff, but it's detrimental to mental health and well-being on the big scale. So I would encourage everyone, when they're starting out, share what you feel like and be mindful. So then it says practice mindfulness and self-care regularly to manage stress. Something else that if you're not in with content creators that are helping you with this, then there's other content creators out there. If they're bullying you, if they're giving you shit constantly, giving you shit about what state you're in, for example, what the hell? There's other people out there. Like, you should not be, going online should be a pleasant thing. It shouldn't be, especially for the long term. You're allowed to change the people you're with and say it once in a while in the off air, in that internal chat, shut the fuck up already. Like, what the fuck? Let's keep moving on, and we don't have to bring this up again. Half the time people just resort to the same shit because they got nothing else to do. They don't know any other routine. Finances, monetization, start earning through ads, sponsorships, and merchandise. There's at least 4 people in this chat right now that are making money every time they do something online. So you don't have to just pour money into this. You can, but unless you're independently wealthy, it's going to get pretty expensive. Let's see. Foss says, people who leave negative comments don't know you or care about you. I chuckle at them. For sure. But again, that actually could be a whole nother conversation at some point, dealing with stuff, because what I dealt with back in the day is certainly different than what people are dealing with now on a couple of reasons. One, the technology is different and the number of people involved is different, and they've already seen a bunch of stuff get done. Like the first time somebody mooned somebody, everybody thought that was, the biggest thing ever. And now I don't even know if people moon anybody anymore, but then it probably got escalated after that. So once something happens as far as being rude on the internet, the next person is going to try to one up it. So, that gets into messy. Let's see. Because it says my insurance agent and bank sent me birthday cards, so they care about me. Right on. Let's see. Monetization, financial management. Learn to manage fluctuating income and save for taxes. 2 good things. Don't pay taxes on dumbass shit that you shouldn't have to be paying taxes on. And understand that there's very little. I can't think of anybody I know who's had any kind of consistent money. I mean, we know some people who consistently make tens of thousands of dollars a month, but I'm sure that fluctuates a little bit for them. I'm sure they get a little bit worried, like, oh, am I going to be able to take that cruise or not? Like, but then there's the rest of us who are, 1 month it'll be a couple $100. You'll have a month or two where it's 1,000 or more. or a couple of $1,000 or even more. Something happens, a viral thing. I've heard of people getting $30,000 in a month from a viral thing and then going back down to a couple $100 again. So if you get weird stuff like that, you definitely don't want to start banking on any kind of increase. But you can also manage that by having sponsors and by having a Patreon and by having things where people can participate kind of with an understanding, so that then you actually can start to plan. And something like SHOT Show, which can cost thousands of dollars. I think it costs thousands of dollars for everybody. I think even when I try to do it on the cheap, I can't do it less than a couple of $1,000. By the time you get a hotel and food and travel, that's all you spend. If you do nothing else, it's still going to cost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars, if not a couple of thousand by now. So that can be pretty daunting unless you start thinking about, well, that's $200 a month or $300 a month or something to be able to do a SHOT Show. Gun Owners Radio is out there. Welcome. Let's see. So managing, getting ready for that on the growth section is a good one. And then managing those funds and getting ready for your taxes. That's a whole nother fun one that no one really has answers for, because even if you talk to accountants, they'll have different ways of dealing with it, not just because of different states, but because content creators are so different. Somebody that gets all their money from YouTube is different than someone that gets all their money from sales of a product or something. Some people get all their money from sales of a t-shirt or something like that. Relationships. This is on the growth side of it. Your audience, engage deeply with your growing audience, fostering a sense of community. I suppose that's good general advice. Build relationships with sponsors, ensuring their values align with yours. And that'll change pretty quickly. And depending on the size and the term of the relationship, understand that a lot of those relationships, they're going to test. They've got a budget and they're going to test. And depending on what you can return or what they get in return, what they feel they're getting in return. So that'll be a part of it. You won't be with everybody forever, in other words. And then with other creators, collaborate with other creators to cross-promote and grow together. Again, I don't think you need to limit yourself to other creators that are growing. You can talk to larger creators. You can talk to new people and people across, like a blogger or somebody, like across mediums and stuff too. Keeping motivation in the growth stage. You got your community and I don't know what that means. So let's say the community want to engage with your community to find inspiration and motivation. I don't know. That seems like a little weird. I'd like to talk to somebody who's more aware of this. But if you create a community and then look to that community for inspiration, is that healthy? I think I would look for inspiration up or outside. I wouldn't expect a bunch of people that are doing what you created to then also inspire you to do stuff. I don't know if I think that's a weird loop. Variety, experiment with different content formats and ideas to keep things fresh. I personally like this. I know everyone isn't a fan of changing things up, especially when they've got something that seems to be working, but applying this to however it is you want to create your content, I think is useful for a motivation side, because if it gets into too much of a routine and then that something fails, what do you got to look out for? What do you have to reach out to? So having the ability to do something different when you have to do something different, it's not going to seem so scary. Next is the maturity phase. So I tried to tell the thing that as you're a content creator, your life cycle, right? This is the whole point of this, is you're gonna get the idea, right? Then you're gonna start. Okay, that makes sense. You're gonna sustain it. They're calling this the maturity phase, and then it says the decline phase. I can't agree with that, because unless you're just a very, you only done one thing and you didn't do very much of it and you only did it the one time, then this isn't going to count, because most people, you're going to start something, it's going to grow, then it's going to not grow, and then you're going to leave it for a little while or something, and it's going to virally grow, and you're going to have all these ups and downs. I would call that maturity, but I think I would have it expanded besides just this one phase before decline, but they went to just this one phase. Let's see what they say. Let's see. Ups and downs, your mental health, your finances, your relationships, and your motivation. Uh-oh. Is Toby up yet? Oh, no, I'm supposed to be doing that other conversation. So let me see if those guys are in there. Where is that? Where did I put it? Do I still have it open? Let me see if I got another chat I got to do here at the top of the hour. So we might chop this one in half, depending on if everybody's over here waiting or not. All right, so I think I'm going to wrap this one up here. Let me go to here and find why I wouldn't open this one right away. Sorry, I got a little distracted there, and I spent too much time riffing on this stuff. But we've got Cape Gunworks coming up here in a couple of... Oh, I'm already in here twice. We got Cape Gunworks coming up here in a bit, and I'm going to see if theirs is up yet. And I usually spend a couple hours, or I spend more time filling in the gap between whenever I start this show and when Cape Gunworks goes live. But like I said, I've got a chat here in a minute or two that I'll be starting. So we'll be ending this one sooner than later, and give me some feedback if I should continue this one. I don't get a lot of feedback on these shows anymore, and I'm not really here to change the world. I'm here to encourage and help people that are in this journey. And since our journey is Second Amendment focused, people is a little different than the standard gun stuff, and all of this gun stuff is different than typical building stuff online. My goal is to help out those folks that are doing Second Amendment stuff, but I don't have to necessarily lecture. So that's what it feels like when I'm just sitting here by myself lecturing. So we'll wrap this one up, and I gotta figure out where the heck that other... Is that this? Oh, I found it. I got to figure out where this other chat is. Nobody's in there yet, so I guess I'll go for a little bit longer. I was just listening to Alex Uli on the Forge of Freedom podcast, episode 145. So if you want to check that out, I'll drop a link to it. That is, it's an interesting one. It's about addressing crime with restitution rather than rehabilitation. So instead of putting people in jail, having people literally pay for the crimes that they committed, and the countries that do that, how their recidivism, whatever that is called, like how that rate is compared to ours and stuff. Pretty interesting. I hadn't heard of it before. So I've been listening to that and setting this thing up. We got about halfway through it. Like I say, if somebody wants me to keep going, I can keep ranting on this. But I think the concept was hopefully useful to people that are creating content. You're not out there. You're not doing it alone. You also aren't stuck in a slack car race. You don't have to do whatever somebody else did before you. You're not on a railroad track. You are a scout. You are someone who's out there cutting your own path, and you can listen to what other people did. You can learn from their victories and their mistakes. But ultimately, you're setting your own path. And if your goal is to, I don't know, let's say normalize guns or make guns, end the gun debate based on awareness and the lack of ignorance, then you don't have to wait for someone to have already done that. Nobody's done that. And you're also not restricted to the successes and failures that others have had. And I hope that everyone takes that away from this one. Most of the successes that are out there, I'm not going to say are accidents, but they're certainly the results of this particular set of circumstances that somebody had. Either the timing. A lot of people don't realize that some of the most successful things out there were simply timing. They were mediocre at best, got put on TV at the right time, went viral on TV, became massive on YouTube based on that, and then took that momentum to continue making tens of thousands of dollars a month for fucking years, never lifting a finger for all the stuff that's happened since then. While they literally could have, wielded the weight of millions of subscribers audacity and gall every time something happened, but instead chose to just double down on making just shit tons of money. So it's not like they sat down and said, hey, I'm going to make shit tons of money on YouTube. They just sat there one day and just shot a pumpkin. And then next thing you know, millions and millions of dollars. All right, well, so we'll wrap this one up and encourage people to not worry about what other people did, understand what people did, analytically take note, but get ready to do whatever you want, because it's 2024 and there's nobody stopping you from doing something better and different than what others have done. I want to thank our Patreons for giving us time to put this one together. Let's see, are they going to jump in here? I don't know if they're waiting for me to end or if what, but if you're listening to me, jump in there, because we thought we were starting at the top of the hour here. But yeah, I guess there's no reason for me to sit here. Nobody's saying anything. Thanks to Foss for jumping in. Thanks to Gun Owners Radio. You can check them out every Sunday and now Monday. So on Sunday, they do a radio show in San Diego, and they simulcast that on the internets, and you can listen to that on YouTube or X. And then you participate and chat with them and follow along with the show. Then on Mondays, they're starting to do lead talks. So instead of TED Talks, it's lead talks, and they're going to have firearms instructors come on and have conversations, kind of a TED Talks type of scenario, with Q&A at the end. They had a guy on from, I can't think of it because I'm trying to think of it, but they had a guy on yesterday and essentially saying how to be your own executive self-protection. So good. I don't know if that was the first one or not, but it was my first one to listen to. Thanks to Snob for jumping in. If you want to listen in, we got that chat going. Gizzard, same thing. And then Foss is out there. Good afternoon. And I don't know if anybody else is out there. So if you didn't say nothing. We're not on the X anymore until I get paid again, and then I'll probably join the X for money. Patreon seem to think it's worth it, so we'll do it. But I'll bitch about it because I don't like spending money just to go live. All right, well, that is that. We'll throw a quick commercial up here for the Gear website store, as well as some show that happens on Friday.
This is Earl Benson, reporting from downtown Topeka, where Gizzard Gary is rampaging through the city. Authorities have asked the public to stay indoors. They believe he will tire soon and need a nap. Gizzard Gary can normally be seen on Foul Territory, Friday nights at 7 p.m. Central. Wednesday, 8 p.m. for the channel members chat. Stay safe and give him the bird. Earl Benson signing off.
Shit. Ninja? Ninja! Ninja!
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the walls. The chair is against the walls. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.